Are we looking for him? Just before this passage, Jesus feeds the 5,000, to put this in context. And immediately, Jesus had his disciples get into a boat and go ahead of him to the other side, to Bethsaida. And while he himself dismissed the crowd, after saying goodbye to them, he left for the mountain to pray. Jesus has a rhythm of life. He likes to go away and pray. It's a good idea. We should all do that. When it was evening, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone. Seeing them straining at the oars, for the wind was against them. At about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea. I've read this a gajillion times, and I've never noticed this line. And he intended to pass them by. How many of you take leisurely strolls on water past your friends? He's just walking on the water, and he's intending to pass them by. Why would you do that? I don't know. But what about that imagery? Jesus sees them struggling, and he decides to walk out on the water to them. But ultimately, he decides, you know what, I'm just going to keep walking. What happens next? But when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought that it was a ghost, and they cried out. For they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke with them and said to them, take courage, it is I, do not be afraid. And then he got into the boat with them, and the wind stopped, and they were utterly astonished. For they had not gained any insight from the incident of the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. Their hearts were hardened to what happened in the story before this. So they weren't able to recognize Jesus correctly in this story. But Jesus still responded to them when they saw him, or he might have just continued to pass by. Right after that story, a passage that happens is Jesus feeds 4,000 people, and that leads to this passage. And they began to discuss with one another the fact that they had no bread because they forgot to bring some. And Jesus, aware of this discernment, paying attention, said to them, why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet comprehend or understand? Do you still have your hearts hardened? Having eyes do you not see, and having ears do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces you picked up? And they said to him, 12. And then directly following that passage, you know what Jesus does? He heals a blind dude. He's trying to open our eyes to see, use discernment, to recognize the things of God in the midst of a world that is confusing. He's trying to point to all the things that he's doing. He's planting seeds, and he's taking a chisel to hardened hearts slowly over time through the things that he's doing. And that's what we do when we faithfully obey the Lord. We're participating in the softening of the world's heart over time so that he can move in power.